Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. Yesterday, we talked a little bit about Virginia Roberts' tweet about how she wants to take down the 1%. And today, we're going to read the article from The Sun that goes into it a little bit more. Like I said, I always like to add a little context, and if I mention something, I always like to read the article if there's one with it. So we're going to read this article in a minute, and we're going to see what Virginia Roberts had to say. We know we read the text yesterday, the tweet yesterday, and we know that she has the 1% locked squarely in her sights coming up in 2020. And do you blame her? If you believe her accusations, if you believe what she said occurred, then you can't really blame her for putting these people on blast and letting them all know that the party is really over for them. And that goes for all of these sick bastards, right? From Prince Andrew all the way on down, folks, all of them. Every last person that enabled this man, or who was involved with this man, or who gave him cover, or who gave him status, all of those people are guilty in one way or the other, to varying degrees, right? Obviously, Ghislaine Maxwell, like I said last night, I feel like she is really the brains of the operation, and I believe that she is the one that initiated this whole entire thing, not Jeffrey Epstein. I believe that Jeffrey Epstein was the figurehead. I believe that Jeffrey Epstein had these sick proclivities before meeting Ghislaine Maxwell, and I think that his sickness was taken advantage of by Maxwell and her handlers and harnessed into a tool for them to wield to gain the knowledge that they gained. This runs so much deeper, folks. It is so much deeper than what the media has presented on the surface to the average person. There is so much more here, as you all know, as everybody listening to this show right now knows. There is so much more here. And it becomes even more clear as you study the evidence, as you follow it where it leads you. It becomes more and more clear, at least to me, that Ghislaine Maxwell was the mastermind behind this whole entire thing. Without Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein is still a pedophile, no doubt about it, but his scope is so much smaller. He doesn't have the entrance to the upper crust world. He doesn't have the access to all these girls coming and going. He doesn't have the access to being able to threaten them with his powerful friends if Ghislaine never met and never introduced him to said people. She was in charge of this whole thing, folks. She was in charge of getting the girls. She was in charge of bringing the girls to Epstein. And then once they were there, she was also in charge of grooming them so that they would become part of the operation. And that's almost the most heinous part, right? Not only were they abusing these young girls, they would then convert them into operatives for their operation. Oh yeah, go get some of your friends and bring some of your friends over and we'll give you $300. It is just the most disgusting display of blatant sex trafficking that I have ever seen in my life. And to think that it was Jeffrey Epstein who has thought of this all on his own, I don't think we're giving Ghislaine Maxwell her just desserts as a participant in this, and not only a participant, but somebody with a leadership role. And again, under RICO, when you have a leadership role, your penalties increase. So, will somebody please answer why this is not a RICO case? Nobody seems to be able to answer that question. Not even the federal authorities when I called them. Nobody wants to answer why this is not a RICO case. But it's clear to anybody who's paying attention. It is clear to anybody who knows what RICO is. It is clear that this certainly falls right into the embrace of RICO. And the reason, in my humble opinion, in this host's humble opinion, that they have not moved to charge them with RICO crimes yet, RICO statutes, is that they are still being protected. Okay? That's what I think. I think that Ghislaine Maxwell's statements through her friend are pretty spot on. I believe that she is that powerful. I believe she is that evil. And I believe that she is that diabolical. She is certainly, at the very least, on par with Jeffrey Epstein in this whole entire operation. Again, in my opinion, I feel like she was the real brains of the operation. I feel like she's the one that kicked it into overdrive, and I believe that she's the one that reported back to her handlers in with whatever intelligence agency was running the operation at that point. She reported back to her handlers that Jeffrey Epstein would be easy to mold, that Jeffrey Epstein has these proclivities, that Jeffrey Epstein would be the perfect person for us to use for this honey trap operation. So that's where I stand on the whole Ghislaine Maxwell thing, folks. People have asked me several times if I think that she was, brainwashed by Epstein like some of the younger girls, in the same vein that Keith Raniere brainwashed Allison Mack, and I do not believe that's the case with Maxwell. I do believe it's the case with some of the other girls in his inner circle, the Kellen Vickers, etc., etc. I believe they were so enamored with Jeffrey Epstein and his lifestyle that they fell in with him, and then not only did they fall in with him, Sarah Kellen and the other girls in the inner circle, but they were brainwashed by him to a degree. And then once that occurred, they were able to do whatever he asked of them without any sort of moral reaction. And Maxwell is on a different level than that. Ghislaine Maxwell grew up in a house of spies. Ghislaine Maxwell grew up around very, very, very politically conscious people. Ghislaine Maxwell grew up around liars. Ghislaine Maxwell was groomed for this lifestyle for her whole entire life. The fact that she is not sitting across from an FBI investigator still at this point is mind-boggling to me. And as Virginia Roberts said in her tweet, 2020 is the year that the 1% is going to get their comeuppance. And we basically say the same thing here, right? 2020 is the year the predator turns into the prey. So what we're going to do is we're going to read this article from The Sun, and it's about the Virginia Roberts tweet and her vow to take down the 1%. So the article is by The Sun, and the author is John Lockett. But first, if you would like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. All right, let's check out the article, shall we? Prince Andrew's accuser, Virginia Roberts, has vowed to use 2020 to take down those who believe they are above the law. She posted her powerful Twitter message alongside a photo of herself and husband Robbie posing together on New Year's Eve. And here's the tweet. Happy New Year to all the people in the world who want to see a change. That's all of you, folks. Let's make 2020 a year to be remembered in history as the year we took down the 1% who thought they were above the law. From Virginia and Robbie. And I agree with her 100%. I've been talking about it for a while now, folks. We're in the beginning stages, the infancy of what I like to call the American Spring. That's the great American awakening. And we have had enough. The American people have been asleep at the wheel for long enough. The American people have looked the other way during your criminal activity for long enough. And now the American people are going to hold you responsible. And that is just the way it's going to be in the year 2020, folks. The 36-year-old, who claims she was Jeffrey Epstein's trafficking victim, posted her Twitter pledge weeks after her astonishing BBC interview about the prince was broadcast. Roberts alleged Epstein, who killed himself behind bars, allegedly, forced her to have sex with his wealthy friends, including Prince Andrew, when she was just 17. The under-fire Duke, 59, denies having sex with her and claims he can't remember even meeting her. Never mind the picture. Never mind that picture, or the witnesses, or the pilots, or the logs, or any of it. Just trust what the prince says, because, he's the prince. He would never lie to you. He's a prince, guys. Come on. Well, now at least he is the prince of nothing. Roberts also lashed out at Brit socialite, pedophile, Ghislaine Maxwell, who is accused of procuring young girls for Epstein and his powerful pals. Why don't they ever add the other facts that she's also accused of abusing these young girls? See, I don't like the way that some of these papers report on Ghislaine Maxwell. It's very almost like they're using white gloves on her, where in reality, like I've stated earlier in the monologue, I believe that she is just as guilty or more than Epstein. I believe she is the mastermind, folks. I truly believe that. In another tweet, Virginia Roberts stated, Maxwell's downfall will be her arrogance. In her eyes, always above the law. She is diabolically evil. I would suggest to whoever is hiding her or knows whereabouts where she is to turn her in, as she'd easily throw anyone who gets in her way under the bus. How is anyone, friend or family member, hiding such a monster? 99% of the population would turn Ghislaine Maxwell in. Who's hiding who and why? Well, that is a very legit and valid question, folks. Who is hiding Ghislaine Maxwell and why? What is their motivation? Why would they put their neck on the line to hide this woman who has been accused of such heinous crimes? Maxwell, whose whereabouts are unknown, is one of several close associates of Epstein currently under investigation by the FBI. All right, and they're not mentioning the other ladies, but I have mentioned the other ladies who are under investigation according to my sources. Leslie Groff, Sarah Kellen Vickers, Adriana Ross, and Nadia Marcinkova. All right, those for sure are getting the long stinky eye right now by the FBI. She has denied procuring girls for the shame tycoon. How is anyone, friend or family member, hiding such a monster? 99% of the population would turn Maxwell in. Who's hiding who and why? Last month, Roberts posted a tweet claiming evil people wanted to keep her quiet, chillingly adding, "If something happens to me, do not let it go." It's crazy to me to think that she would even have to do that. That this girl who's been through so much, this lady who has been through so much, would still be in fear for her life on a different continent, all the way in Australia, and she's still talking about she might get clipped. Now, are we dealing with the government, or are we dealing with an organized crime conglomerate, whatever you want to call it? It's the government is a bigger organized crime mafioso crew than the actual mafia, the mafia is. If something happens to me, she wrote, I am making it public, known that in no way, shape, or form am I suicidal. I have made this known to my therapist and GP. If something happens to me, for the sake of my family, do not let this go away and help me to protect them. Too many evil people want to see me quieted. And with that statement, you know that if it was just standalone, we could say, all right, these are the musings of a paranoid young lady who has been through a lot. She's suffered a lot of trauma. We have to take this with, a grain of salt. But then we see the reports about Ghislaine Maxwell being protected by said powerful people. And how can anyone not deduce that it's connected? All of this stuff is connected, folks. There are no coincidences in this case. I am sorry, but there are no coincidences in this case. Her concerns came just after a top pathologist who worked on the O.J. Simpson case sensationally claimed shamed Epstein was murdered in prison. New York City's former chief medical examiner, Dr. Michael Bodden, believes the shame tycoon did not kill himself as believed and was most likely strangled. Dr. Bodden added if it turns out Epstein was actually murdered, a number of people would have to be involved. Well, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Captain Obvious to the rescue. A whole bunch of people would have to be involved. And then people would say, well, how could anyone keep that secret? It would be way too deep. Well, if it was all spooks who were involved, all, intelligence folks who were involved, easily, what they'll do is they'll just kill those people off one at a time too, eventually. Various theories touted on social media speculate Epstein was attacked so he couldn't go on trial for allegedly running a global child sex ring. So, that's more of a conspiracy theory than some of the other things the media has been pushing. I don't understand. The media is full of fake news and conspiracy theories. And then they like to pick and choose what they label a conspiracy theory. I don't think it's so out to left field to have questions about how Jeffrey Epstein died, okay? I don't think that's a crazy stance, considering we have no evidence besides the word of the prison director and Barr that this was a suicide. What do we really have to go on? All All right, we have the medical examiner who came out and said, all right, well, yeah, it's consistent with the suicide. But then you have someone disputing that who is just as well qualified, if not more. So now it becomes a battle of who do you believe more? Who is more credible in your eyes? In reality, what should happen is they should just release the information, release the evidence, and then we could be done with it. We could move on to a different phase of the case. But of course, they will not do that, and you have to ask yourself, why? Speaking on Panorama, Miss Roberts said she was trafficked for sex by the billionaire and ordered to have sex with the prince when a teen. She alleges she was forced to sleep with the Duke of York at Maxwell's home in London, in New York, and the U.S. Virgin Islands as a 17-year-old in 2001. I just didn't expect it from royalty. I didn't expect it from someone people look up to and admire, she said. It was disgusting. He got up and said thanks and walked out, and I sat there in the bed. I felt horrified and ashamed and dirty. The next day, Ghislaine pats me on the back and said, "You made him really happy." I had just been abused by a member of the royal family. I hadn't been chained to a kitchen sink, but these powerful people were my chains. Miss Roberts told Panorama, "I implore the people in the UK to stand up beside me, to help me fight this fight, to not accept this as being okay. This is not some sordid sex story. This is a story of being trafficked. This is a story of abuse, and this is a story of your guys' royalty." And she said of Andrew's denials, the people on the inside are going to keep coming up with these ridiculous excuses. I mean, come on. I'm calling BS on this, because that's what it is. He knows what happened. I know what happened. And there's only one of us who is telling the truth. Prince Andrew denies her claims and says he has absolutely no recollection of ever meeting Miss Roberts. In response to the BBC interview, a Buckingham Palace spokesman said the Duke unequivocally regrets his ill-judged association with Jeffrey Epstein and deeply sympathizes with those affected who want some form of closure. Well, that's nice, but guess what? Nobody believes you, Prince Andrew. Nobody. Not a person or a mammal or an amphibian or a fish. Nothing or no one believes you. Okay? You're a liar. And until you come on record, until you come and talk to the authorities, I will continue to call you a liar. That is my opinion, and I will stand behind it. All right, folks, we all know the deal. We all know what's happening in 2020. This is the year. We see it now. Virginia Roberts is ready to rock. We're ready to rock. Let's hope the FBI is also ready to rock. Because these people have gotten away with it for too long. They've been too brazen about it, and they truly believe that they can control society, even though they are the most evil, disgusting excuses for human beings in quite some time. My message to them, the party is over. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. And if you would like to help support the podcast, you can do that by clicking on the GoFundMe link inside of the description box. I will be back later on today, folks, with an evolution episode and, of course, a daily drop.